Hey everybody, I know it's been a while since I posted a video. I kind of wanted to pause this week and not introduce any new assignments to get people caught up. But a real quick, restatement. But remember, quarter 4 is going to be based off of the work that is sent out remotely. So make sure you're keeping up with assignments. Um, if you haven't created the Google Doc or the Google folder yet to save files there, or if you haven't been sending me work, make sure you're doing that, just so you're getting credit for work completion. There'll be more details exactly on how grades will be calibrated coming out in the next couple days from the school, but yes, so just be aware that quarter 4 grades are going to be based off of this work that we're providing. So with that statement said, I want to review assignment 5, which was the Histories Paradox one, and I'll do assignment 6 probably. I'll post that video Monday. People are still working on it. I only have 2, or actually now 3. Emily, nice job, just got hers done. I just saw it. So we're going to do something a little different because this assignment was kind of different. It was mostly kind of about your opinion and your thinking. So I wanted to see how it worked, and we have some really cool answers to think about what exactly is going on. But a couple real quick things about this reading that to go over. But question 1, a paradox is a contradiction. It's believe, as the article says, it's believing one thing and doing something else. Kind of you say you want something good, but then you do something bad. That is a paradox. Having that conflicting idea. So basically, all of America prior to the Civil War, and even still now, is a big paradox. We believed in these certain things, and yet we're doing these things that kind of go against what our beliefs are, which is frustrating, especially since we believe in such awesome things. The second question, which was about the Founding Fathers, the author of this chapter, she says, quote, the Founding Fathers, quote, were trying hard to do the best they could in a world where ideals weren't all that mattered. There were also powerful forces called selfishness, bigotry, hypocrisy, and cruelty. I wanted you to think about, because those things existed, is that a fair enough reason to allow for slavery, even though you say you want freedom, you want equality, you want rights? And we had a couple interesting answers. Rodney says that, quote, yes, I do believe that slavery is a valid enough reason for the Founding Fathers to create this paradox, because with slavery outlawed, the South would have tried to leave the Union long before the Civil War. That's why they didn't do anything about slavery at the time. Rodney, you're predicting the future like always. So he's hinting at this idea that, America, when we declared our independence from Britain, if the South broke away, the whole idea of what we tried to stand for would have fallen apart earlier. So it's almost like Rodney was saying, it's kind of like this thing that they're stuck with. They had to accept slavery because they wanted to at least create this new nation. Bella Franco said, obviously, quote, obviously the Founding Fathers weren't trying hard enough because they let themselves live in hypocrisy and cruelness, even when claiming otherwise. Although other forces like selfishness and cruelty play a big factor in this paradox and in society alone, if the Founding Fathers really cared about liberty and equality like they claimed, they would have acted upon the law that abolished slavery faster with more urgency overall. So Bella's these Founding Fathers, if they really believe in this thing, they need to follow it fully, which is a little bit of Ace Class, this virtue ethics thing and deontology. So Bella, nice connection there. So moving on to question 2 is the idea of free blacks actually owned slaves in the South at the time. And that is a paradox in itself, because slavery is when typically in America, it was when white people were enslaving black people. But at the same time, free blacks were slave owners. And, what is that about? I'm going to recap question 2A at the end, but 2B, where it is, what is your opinion about free blacks owning slaves? We had a couple interesting ideas. Bella also said, it's kind of justifiable, especially, she says, quote, especially for black people, it was essentially their only option to succeed in the South. So she makes a good point. And Lena says the same thing, quote, it was their only way out. So if they wanted to try and have a successful life, free black people sometimes had to have slaves. That was the only way people were really making money in the South. So it was kind of like this. They were kind of, I guess, forced into it, but still contradicting what everything was believing in. And then for question 3, it was this idea of the people. So people at the time genuinely thought, okay, look, we can't be a nation that stands for liberty, equality, and like these values of freedom and being able to voice your own opinion and still have slaves. So since we can't outlaw slaves, and since we can't just like all of a sudden shake this system, what about if we created a place where slaves could go, like these freed slaves would go? Some people had this racist belief that blacks and whites couldn't live together. So they thought, why don't we create a colony in Africa, and then we send the free slaves back to Africa at this colony? And it was like a real thing. This President James Monroe created this country called Liberia, which is still, actually was a colony at the time, which is still a country today, with the plan to send free blacks and former slaves to Liberia as a way to solve any possible tension between blacks and whites at the time. Like, absolutely crazy. Tiana says, quote, or in response to this, is this a good solution? Tiana says, quote, all skin is just an outer shell, and the fact that they couldn't see that some blacks were just like them and that they could truly live in peace is true ignorance. Like, exactly. It's fascinating about the thinking that was going on at the time, and Tiana, you're just crushing it. So really cool ideas from you all for this assignment. One key fix is question 2A. All right, that was the question based off of what we've learned from the videos in assignment 3. Is it true that white people only own slaves for economic reasons? The key thing, a lot of people said, yeah, that's the only reason, but remember, based off the videos from assignment 4, some white slave owners genuinely had this racist belief that black people were destined to be slaves, and they owned slaves for purely racist reasons. And you'll see more of that if you've looked at assignment 6 already. So that's kind of a heads up. Assignment 6, if you haven't looked at the video yet, please check back at the explanation video in order to kind of figure that out. So, yeah, super cool. I'll hopefully try to create more of these types of thinking questions coming up. Assignment 7 and 8 will be posted Monday. Yeah, sounds great. And I'll review assignment 6. I'll have that video posted Monday as well. So, thank you. Be safe, everybody, and